So really, guys, today I've got a little bit of an agenda for you, right? Smart reset, how to stabilize and maximize your data with Sales Boomerang. Before I go into full share screen mode here, let's just go over the agenda, okay? So really what we're going to do is we're going to go over our monthly ebook, right? I just want to share a quick snapshot and review of what that is every month. Our incredible marketing team has got a piece of content that comes out. Another thing is I want to talk about some our growing team, which becomes a value added resource to you. And a hint, he's in the lineup right now. The other thing we're going to talk about is 3 myths when hitting this reset, right, that we're talking about today. There's 3 myths, 3 mistakes that people make. And then what we're going to do is we're going to top it off and give you 10 items, a checklist, 10 items, the smartest way to reset. And so we're going to cover that. So let me go ahead and share the screen here real quick. Actually, let's go over to this piece here. Spence, you can see that, right? True cost of overlooking borrower retention. So guys, this is this month's ebook that our marketing team puts out. Look at Spence. Look at Russell. Russell saying, sorry, I got disconnected. Russell, it's okay. It was us. The true cost of overlooking borrower retention. That's this month's marketing piece. Okay, it's an ebook that our marketing team puts out, and this month we're actually covering specifically about overlooking borrower retention. Right, kind of missing some of those gaps, right? And what we really need, and that's why I think it's so relevant to today's conversation, is we're actually going to talk about the bridges between those gaps. So make sure that, and Nicole, if you happen to have the link for this that people can register, or I'm sorry, that people can request to get this, please be sure to drop that into the chat. But guys, make sure you take a look at that. Really, for me, just one thing I want to highlight real quickly is your customer database. This is page 3 of this ebook. An investment worth protecting. I'm not going to go deep into it because I want you to read it, but really it's super valuable. Again, I was in the mortgage business. I wasn't an executive. I didn't own my own company, but I owned my own branch, and I purchased all of our leads. And I put a lot of time in the field actually looking to create referral relationships and generate, incoming lead referrals. And I just know how valuable those are and how much time, money, and energy people spend on those. And so really our job at Sales Boomerang is help you protect that, right? And to reduce the cost over time of how much money, time, and energy you put into that. So again, it's pretty awesome, guys. It's a 9-page resource. So make sure to get yours. Okay, next thing I want to jump into, guys. Yeah, now go into kind of full presentation. Well, because I had a couple notes and I can't actually access it the way I'd like to. So check it out, guys. So I'm real excited to share that our growth here at Sales Boomerang is going to directly impact your success. All right. I want to introduce you to Spencer Schwartz. Spencer spent 4 years out of college as a top producing LO, right, before moving into football information and analytics, that world. And so Spence came on board with us and started as a CSM about 8 or 9 months ago, and has very recently and so excitedly has been promoted to your new training and adoption strategist. So LO trainings, refreshers, video resources, webinars like SBU, and so much more. I'm really excited, that he's this extremely valuable asset. So join me in welcoming Spencer to his new role, and as a co-host to today's webinar. Spencer, what's up, man? You got a couple words for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the kind words, Pablo. I'm really excited, as Pablo said, to integrate my experience as a loan officer, my experience in the data analysis and quantitative analysis world into what we do at Sales Boomerang. I've been a customer success manager, as Pablo said, since about June. So I've been able to really get a home for what Sales Boomerang is capable of and what successes are, what successful trends are, how to make sure that we're optimizing and putting fire into the coals of each lender's Sales Boomerang experience. So I'm really excited to be able to bring some best practices, and I'm fired up. Sales Boomerang alerts, if I had them when I was an LO, I might not be here today. I might still be an LO. So I'm really passionate about what we're able to do and putting every borrower in the right loan today. And with that, guys, I just really want to help get your teams fired up, help get you fired up for how to make sure that we're turning Sales Boomerang into a well-oiled machine, dropping that GPS into your database, and making sure that we're bringing you funded deals, guys. That's what it's all about ultimately, and servicing our communities, our nation as a whole, and making sure we're being of help to the mortgage industry as a whole. So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Pablo. And with that, I want to throw it on back to the maestro himself.
Let's do it. So let's jump right into these myths, right? So we said we're going to go over 3 myths. And actually, you know what, before we do that, guys, let's take a look at this again, this title, right? Smart Reset, how to stabilize and maximize your data with Sales Boomerang. So the reason we're doing today, the whole why of why we're doing this is we've had customers that have been reaching out to us, some with concerns, some with excitement, some with kind of a not understanding kind of what the next steps are, or what to look for when it comes to, hey, the market is shifting, we don't have as many leads or opportunities as we used to, or I'm getting word from higher up in the ranks that we need to make some adjustments and some changes, whether that's to how we market or where we market or how much we invest in marketing, all these different things, right? And so I understand fully that on this call, there's probably people in different positions, right? Whether it's in the lending departments, in IT departments, in marketing departments. But really from a decision-making standpoint, chances are you're probably either a point of contact with us and or a pretty close, like an arm's length reach to, to some pretty important decision makers in the organization. Again, if you're not that actual person yourself, and that's totally fine. Today is for you. Today is for you because regardless at what level you are, again, whether you're new with us, you've been with us for a year, or you've been with us since the beginning, we really just want to talk about it. It's something that we haven't shared in a while. And if you saw the video that I shared, I really I compared it to the analogy of like spring cleaning, right? And I used to fear spring cleaning, right? When I was a child, because my mother would kind of get in this mode and she would start cleaning the house and she loved it. And for me, I was horrified because she got in this mode and I kind of want to just stay out of her way. And you start to feel guilty because you haven't done any cleaning. And all of a sudden, it was just a very weird place. And the truth is that unless you know what you're doing, and unless you have a system, and unless you have kind of like your own checklist and process to go through, it can be a little bit overwhelming, right? And cumbersome. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into this, but I'm going to ask Nicole if you can go ahead and drop a poll. We have a poll that we want to ask you and see where everyone's at, right? When it comes to Sales Boomerang activity, have you been, and just check whichever one of these 3 suits you, right? And the way it's all anonymous, so no one's going to see who filled this out correct or in the way that you did, right? Are you crushing it and you want to improve? Are you doing okay and you're looking for more solutions? Or do you feel like you definitely need a reset? Like you need somebody to come in and do a spring cleaning on your records, on an audit, on a full audit of everything that's going on, right? And again, there's no wrong or right answer. So just drop that in. We'll keep tabs on that for the next 30 seconds. Make sure everyone gets an answer in. Actually, we might not even need to go that long. And so we'll give it just a little bit more and we'll see responses here. I told Nicole, I said, hey, Nicole, maybe it's like checking the popcorn, right? When the popcorn stops popping in the microwave, that's when it's time to pull it out. All right, let's see what we got. So it looks like, okay, 45% said they're doing okay and looking for some more solutions, and 55% say they definitely need a reset. Well, boy, am I glad that we're doing this, right? Guys, by the way, any partner, when we say we're your partner, right? It's not just like a line. It's not just something that we saw other companies saying. And so a true partner is always going to kind of want to be there with you, and not only be there with you as you're going through scenarios, we also want to look forward into the future to help you avoid any problems or challenges that you might have. Okay. So that's why we're doing today. All right. So let's jump in. I want to share 3 quick myths. when it comes to looking at this data, right? When it comes to looking at, oh my goodness, how many records do we have with Sales Boomerang, or what's going on with our tech stack, and where does this make sense? Does Mortgage Coach make sense to be with Sales Boomerang? I hear that they're doing something. Let's take a look at some of those myths. The first one is with record management, it's set it and forget it, right? That's a big myth. It's not give us all your records and then never look at it again, right? For a lot of us, maybe that's that we would like to think that. We would like to think that because, man, that was a lot of work and I don't ever want to have to do that again. But guess what? That's like the lifeline, the lifeline of your business are those records. Okay. So we're going to take a look at that. Second myth is out with the old and in with the new when it comes to records, right? Meaning, hey, we've got some really old records in there. Why don't we just scrap everything and then just dump in a whole bunch of new stuff, right? In some cases, that may be true. And so we're going to take a look at what you should be kind of reviewing when it comes to out with the old, in with the new, okay? Because let's just remember this, right? Even though you might have old data, there's a lot of past clients in there, people that you've served, okay? So let's be real careful with that. And then the last myth I really want to go over is my team is too small, right? It's really just me. My team is just me, or it's me and an assistant. And for us to do this full reset or to really review any of this is just really beyond us. We already went through all that when we onboarded. I can't imagine having to go through and do this again. We can't do this, right? My team is too small. I'm going to let you know that's a myth. Okay, we're going to disprove that today. So really what I'd like to do is, Spencer, before we jump into the list, we got the list of 10 different things that we want you to check on, right? Before you jump on and have a call with us or consider what your next steps are with this reset, we've got a list of 10 things. But before we do that, I'd like for Spencer to share a very recent story that you had and share to the folks and actually maybe give us a little bit of insight on some of the positive power of connecting with their CSMs.
Certainly. So like Pablo alluded to, and like I mentioned earlier, I was a customer success manager when I started at Sales Boomerang. And so I came in, obviously took some accounts, and one of those was Homespire Mortgage, who ultimately I took and started getting to what we'll get to later, which is conversion reports, which I think are one of the most powerful tools in this process at Sales Boomerang. So through their conversion reports, we were seeing some conversion rates around 4 or 5% and trying to examine, how to get that up higher to where we could be at, 10%, 11%, really starting to turn into a well-oiled machine. So that process involved evaluating data first and foremost, and we'll get into evaluating alerts as well, but making sure that we have data that we feel confident in, that we're continuing to add newly funded deals that we've already banked on and established trust with, as well as prospects that can be, updated and continue to be someone you might have touched base with at one point, but not actually done business with ultimately. And so what we did was we trimmed a little bit of fat, about 3,000 records from their account ultimately. And we did that so that we could build muscle and really start pouring in those newly funded records. And we also wanted to address at the same time, all of our methods, but through trimming a little bit of fat to build muscle, we get more confident alerts, more relevant alerts ultimately. And let's say trimming some of that fat could be, taking out a few records that we're not super confident in their contact information, records where we're not confident in, it hasn't been a while. It's been 5-6 years ultimately where we haven't had contact with the borrower. And so trimming those out, not to throw them away forever, but to make sure that we're getting the most relevant conversations now. And we can increase our hit rate, our conversion rate now. So ultimately, we revisit later down the road, but we pour in new alerts, new records that can be actionable as we've already trimmed out a little bit and made our LOs, made our call centers, made our sales team more confident in what they're getting, more confident conversations, more relevant conversations. And over time, we were able to grow. They added about 50% of their records. So they almost nearly doubled in how many records they were monitoring from when they started, and ultimately ended up hitting a conversion rate around 10 or 11%, just from trimming a little bit of fat, guys, just from trying to really refine. And it's more so of putting your records through a strainer and give them a little shake, the gold rush of these alerts, and just trying to figure out and get the big pieces that you're excited about, that your LOs are going to be excited about, that are going to be actionable, and moving on from there into revisiting those ones that we did trim down the road, and visiting, some of those weaknesses. Once we're happy with our conversion rate, we have a better process in place, we've had more confident conversations with borrowers, we've gotten applications, we've gotten funded deals, then we can revisit those down the road. So again, I just liken it to putting them through a strainer a little bit, shaking it out and getting everything nice and dried off, and then also just trimming a little bit of fat so that we can build muscle at the same time and ultimately end up being in a good place. So those conversion reports we will get to as part of this 10-point checklist, but guys, I can't stress to you how valuable those conversion reports are, and establishing a cadence with your CSM to get on the same page. Like Pablo said, we're a strategic partner. We're in it with you. We want to see you succeed. We want to see you in the most efficient place possible. So those are tools that I really love, and a little bit of a success story for a certain client that was able to double their conversion rate while adding records ultimately after we scaled back just a little bit.
Yeah, that's great. Literally from 5% to close to 11% conversion rates on those alerts, right? So that's awesome. And it was a doing it with Spencer, doing it with the CSM. So let's go through this checklist, guys. And I will start with this. I just want to say, you can only improve what you track. Okay, you can only improve what you track. And so here at Sales Boomerang, we want to be super transparent about data. We want to be super transparent about your conversions. And so we're probably one of the only companies that are so forthright and forthcoming in saying, hey, let's take a look at the results and let's look at them together and let's see how we can improve that. So the first thing in this 10-point checklist is we need to review your goals. You need to understand your goals, right? So before you get on a call with us, number one thing you need to look at is your goals, right? Are you looking to grow, right? Are you in kind of a growth mode, or are you in reduction mode, right? So you need to figure that out, and really understand not just what are you in, right? But why are you in that mode? And the reason we're saying this is, guys, think of this call and think of the reasons why we're doing this as if we were in the room with you as you're going through this, because we want to understand your goals with you. This isn't just hey, tell us your goal and then we'll see if we can help you get there. Well, I do want to see if we can help you get there, whatever that is, right? But I also want to understand why, because the better we can understand why, guys, we're a technology company. If you tell us something that all of a sudden we're like, well, wait a minute, we've been hearing this from other people, maybe we can build something that can help you. That's going to help you get to your goals, right? So that's what's really neat about this, but very important, guys. Review your goals and make sure that you know what those are. How about this next one, Spence?
Yeah, certainly. So again, we want to look at alerts that, and again, conversion reports, which we'll get to, are so valuable to see which alerts you are having the most success with, and ultimately able to go even more internal with that. Which LOs are having, which call center members, are having success with which individual alerts? What is their talk track? Where are they, what's their cadence? How are they following up? Is it email? Is it text? Is it from your CRM campaign? What is the exact cadence that's working for them? And which ones do we need to examine a little further and examine our process as a whole, whether it's listing alerts or doing really well, whereas, equity alerts, we've seen a little traction, but falling by the wayside a little bit. We don't feel as confident. So let's again examine our weaknesses there so that we can build a plan. We can have those internal conversations. We can have those strategic conversations with Pablo and myself, with your CSM, so that we can ultimately identify where we feel confident and where we feel like we could be stronger and how we could be stronger. Do we have the best team in place? Do we need to start trying to figure out a way to maybe navigate some of these alerts to a certain LO? There's different game plans, guys. There's a thousand ways to skin the cat, so to speak. So identifying which alerts ultimately are successful, establishing who is successful with them, and then trying to pick up on why, using best practices that we can establish. And then from there, doing the opposite. The weaknesses, who, what, when, where, why, and how of these weaknesses, and developing a plan moving forward to get them in a better place and increase those conversion rates, increase your ROI, and add more funded deals to your pipeline, guys. That's what it's all about.
So in a quick example, guys, of combining 1 and 2, I spoke with a lender last week that said, hey, you know what, this summer we're going to be doing a refi campaign. So that was great. Came to us with a goal. specifically wanted to talk about specific alerts that they've been having success with, wanted to, and just knew that there was a lot more opportunities there, and said, hey, maybe in the meantime, does it make sense to maybe dial back or change the settings on some of the other alerts, right? And so that's a perfect segue into the next one. It's basically just reviewing your settings. So with each alert type in your dashboard, you're able to go in and see what the settings and the limitations are on those alerts, right? So if it's a credit alert, you know what the credit, what the credit score, the minimum credit score requirement is, and you can adjust that, right? You can adjust that up or down. You can adjust the LTVs on any of your equity products or any of your prescriptive scenario products. You can adjust LTVs. You can do the same with credit on those prescriptive scenarios as well. And you can also adjust your daily caps, right? Whether it's higher or lower, depending on how much you can handle. And the really great thing is, guys, we have the ability to, even if you lower your caps and then you're concerned that, you know what, I really didn't necessarily want to lower my caps, my daily caps on how many alerts I would receive on specific alert types. Well, Sales Boomerang has the ability to let you know how many you're leaving behind or on the table. And we can alert you and say, hey, by the way, Spencer, at ABC Mortgage, you have X amount of alerts. Specifically, for example, you've got 133 alerts, equity alerts that you did not, that we did not alert you on, but that are actually sitting there waiting simply because your caps have been reduced. And then we would just ask Spencer, do you want those, right? You might have had a great week, or you might have had a great month. You're like, yes, you know what, my people, need more deals. So we're going to send those to you. And by the way, feel free that if you want to keep up with this, with these alerts that you're receiving, you're more than welcome to increase your cap again, or just leave it where it's at. Right. So that's a really cool thing. And by the way, before you change any settings, again, talk to us. Okay. So talk to us, but make sure that you are reviewing your settings, and we can help you do that.
And to piggyback a little bit, Pablo, we have an alert, for instance, cash out. Some of you may use, some of you may not, where we can change the debt threshold that a borrower might have. We can change the home value so that your LOs maybe get a little bit more excited. It's a little more flammable when they get these alerts. If that home value is a little higher, whatever it is, we can higher it, we can lower it, we can tweak it to make sure that we're getting actionable, relevant, and exciting alerts. That's what it's about. We want your team, your LOs, everyone involved to feel excited. Oh, I got a Sales Boomerang alert. That's going to be, a great deal for me. I'm going to be excited about the commission. I'm going to be excited about, contacting this borrower. I have all this information at hand. They're in a good place, and making sure that it's going to be a flammable alert. That's what it's all about, guys.
So the next one is request and review a conversion report. So Spencer talked about these a little bit earlier. Guys, I mentioned, I said as well, we're very transparent in your success. And what I call conversion reports, I actually call them keep your job reports, because you can walk into your boardroom, or you can walk into your executive, quarterly meetings with this report, and you can actually show and pinpoint where the success is, or even where maybe the slowdown is. But as long as you have that, you can show that, hey, I'm with it. I understand where we're at and where we're going. And in fact, I have a call scheduled with our CSM, Pablo and or Spencer, and we're going to be going through specifically what we need to adjust in order to get back here, or in order to take it from where we're at and double it. Right. So now all of a sudden you can walk into those conversations and have a report that basically says you're on top of things. Okay. And that you've got us working with you. So again, that conversion report, again, it's going to show you everything from how many alerts you've received to then how many have been converted into apps, and then how many have you received and how many of those have been converted into funded deals. And it's going to get as granular as to the LO and what type of alerts each LO had closed, and how many and how much volume you received. It's going to give you everything that you would ever want to know for any of the business that Sales Boomerang had pointed in your direction. And I understand you might say, and you probably have the loan officers that say, hey, well, guess what? I would have already done that business. And so, sometimes it's like, well, how accurate is that conversion report? Well, I'll tell you what, the company or the industry average is 15 to 17% of people come back and do business with the original loan officer. Okay. So what we do is when we have a conversion report, I would just recommend say, hey, look, let's just take 20% off the top. and just say, you know what, let's just pretend 20% of whatever conversion report numbers we have here, that was business that your awesome loan officers would have gotten without us. Okay. And then look at the remaining, right? But don't be fooled and just say, hey, you know, my loan officers would have gotten 100% of that. Because the truth is that, you know, one of our biggest converting alerts is mortgage inquiry alert, which is the alert that when someone goes to shop for another loan and pulls credit with another competitor, we're getting them back on the phone and saying, hey, remember us? We'd love to serve you. We'd love to work with you. You know, can you give us an opportunity? They're only getting that opportunity because they got the alert. Okay. Trust me, those borrowers that pulled credit elsewhere, they're not picking up the phone and saying, hey, Spencer, by the way, I had my credit pulled elsewhere. Did you want to maybe see if you can help me or do better? Zero, not a chance, right? So make sure that you request that. I would recommend doing that quarterly, right? Quarterly, if not every other month. I would say definitely 3 months, okay? Every quarter you should be doing this. And by the way, this checklist, you should be looking at this probably monthly, if not quarterly. Everything that's on this checklist, monthly, if not quarterly. But that conversion report is super, super impactful.
And they're free as well.
And it's free. Hey, you're reading my mind, man. We're on the same wavelength. Yeah, there's no cost to that. It does take our team some time, and there's, you know, a couple different processes. But either way, for you, it's free. Hey, and Chris jumped in and said that they are great. Well, Chris, I appreciate that. That's also because you're getting great results using our strategies. So thank you. I appreciate that. Now go ahead. Why don't you talk about the next one, Spence?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, making sure that our CRM is pushing the most accurate information. As Pablo said, we're growing, guys. Sales Boomerang is growing. Our integrations department, we have a great team that has expanded recently, and we're going to be able to examine within your CRM, make sure that everything's pushing properly, that your fields are getting pushed properly, that you're just getting the most relevant context, and that everything is getting put to the right place. So we want to examine, go through, speak with our CRM rep, and ensure that we're ultimately in a good place, that we're as healthy as possible, and really just checking all avenues within our functions, guys. It's like there's 8 spokes to a wheel. Well, the integration is a really important spoke there. So making sure that we're able to ultimately go in and set every process up for success, see how we can grow as new alerts turn on and different things of that nature. We can ultimately go in, set it, and ensure that we're actively checking it, actively making sure that everything is functioning properly, and that our LOs, our team, is going to get the most relevant functional alerts through their CRM that are actionable, that they can, you know, easily transfer their energy and their knowledge into, and go give a call to a borrower, go send out that text or email campaign, and go act upon these alerts. So the CRM, the integration is a major part, the API, everything in between. I know that not everyone on this call might, you know, have the API going that way. We might doing some manual uploads still, but ultimately, whatever the process is, let's examine it, make sure we're getting the best data push, that we're getting the most context possible. And then we're just making sure everything's healthy. This is like going to the doctor for a physical at this point, and making sure, you know, everything's in the right place. Everything is going to ultimately be in a good point moving forward. So our integration is a huge part of what we're doing. If you have one, or if you're just doing manual uploads, either or, let's examine the process, leave no stone unturned, and make sure that everything is getting pushed correctly.
Yeah. And Spence, I hope if you're going to the doctor, man, that everything is in the right place, as well as for our customers as well. Hey, by the way, real simple for on number 5, 3 things, right? With your CRM, remember, this is a checklist of what to check before you get on with us and have a discussion at a higher level. Number 1 is, are you already integrated, right? And are you integrated to the level that you'd like to? Are you in process? Are you in the middle of that integration, right? And so if that's happening, we need to know that as well, right? Obviously, we will know that, but it's something that you should always be aware of, right? As far as looking at all these different diagnostics. And then lastly, it's, hey, I don't even have a CRM, or we're in the middle of getting a CRM. We're not in the middle of, you know, integrating. We're in the middle of, you know, investing in a CRM. So whatever that is, let us know where you're at with that, because again, we have recommendations. We've got incredible partners, and we integrate with so many that are in the industry. And so we're here to help you with that. The next thing I want to talk about really is, and I'm going to run through this quite quickly because I know we've got, you know, I don't want to spend too much more time. I want you to rank your records. I'm going to give you a few points. I want you to rank your records, and I'm going to take a look here because I've got a document here that I just made some important notes of things that we look at when I talk about ranking your records. What I mean by this is I want you to get in the mindset of, so our product VP calls this GIGO, GIGO, meaning garbage in, garbage out. And it's just a very easy way to understand, hey, if my records, right, are considered not the best records, quote unquote, garbage. Well, if I'm putting garbage in, then I'm probably going to get garbage out. But I want to show you that it's so much more powerful than just thinking of it like that. Here are just some simple things that you can look at. And let's start from the positive, like the highest, most valuable type of records that you can be looking at. And then as we go down, you're going to see how maybe they start to lose some of that oomph. So the very first thing I want you to think about are your funded customers, right? If we're ranking our records, I'm going to say, hey, the best of the best, you got to have your previously funded customers. The next one is you're going to probably look at your previously funded customers and really any records for over the last 3 years. So a time frame. I want to give you the last 3 years, right? So 36 months. The next kind of records are going to be prospect records. And these are two different types of prospects, right? So you have like your consumer direct prospects, right? Like, so you purchased the landing tree leads and boom, right? Never funded them, but they're prospects. Great. Then you have retail prospects, right? So everyone that you've ever spoken to or networked with over the years, but you didn't actually do any business with, but they're in your database. Those are retail record. Those are prospect retails, right? Then you've got referral partner data. We've got referral partner data, right? So let's say Spencer's a real estate agent that I worked with, and we're monitoring some of his records, right? Because my company maybe allows for me to do that. And so that's valuable as well, right? And then there's what we call orphan data. Orphan data are, and you'll probably come across this, right? There's maybe some of you that might say, hey, you know what? Well, we can go out and purchase this list of thousands of records. And we don't maybe have all the information on them, and no one's ever spoken to them in our company. And we're just going to drop them into Sales Boomerang, and then Sales Boomerang is going to magically turn them into alerts. Okay. Can we do that? Yes. Is that the most valuable alert? I got to be honest. The answer is no, it's not. If you're looking at the ranking, right now, if your organization is, hey, listen, we have CSRs and we have a call center, and that's exactly what we do, then that might make sense, but not for everyone. The problem is that if you try to do all of those things at the same time and you don't prioritize, it can get very hairy, right? So we're here to help you with that. So I want you to rank your records. And there's other lists. I just kind of went through those. Doesn't mean that, there aren't other different types of lists. And by the way, I want to give you one kind of added thing that we can help you with. Is called a data append, right? A data append basically means, say for example, if you were working with the real estate agent, that real estate agent had tons of past customers that they worked with, but for some reason, maybe they didn't have, it's weird to say they didn't have contact information, because how would they have closed that business?
It might be an email. It might be, an outdated phone number. It's right. Just, one missing piece of information. Let's look at that record in its entirety. And there's one crucial piece that's missing that we feel like we need. Sales Boomerang is capable of appending or just finding that key point that you need. So we can take that GIGO data that Pablo is talking about and turn, trash into treasure a little bit there. We can find good points of contact. We can find up-to-date information. And Sales Boomerang also, guys, when public record gets updated, we're going to update and find the most recently funded information. That way you can establish even more credibility and trust with these potential borrowers, with these leads, understanding maybe they refied in 2019 when you worked with them in 2016, or maybe they just refied. So knowing when they did the most recent activity, Sales Boomerang is going to do that for you within your database, but we can also run these data appends as well that will find some missing points and clean that data up for you a little bit.
Awesome. Hey, by the way, do me a favor, drop into the chat if this is helping you guys at all, kind of to really capture a hold of what it is that I need to review before we're making any decisions or really starting to map out what the next quarter is going to look like. Please drop that. Chris, I know you said they are great. I appreciate that. Thank you. Anyone else? Let us know what's working. If it is, let us know what number so far is working. Okay, but let's move on.
Yeah, certainly. So LO feedback, guys. That's why conversion reports, I'm going to say for the 50th time, I'm going to hit you with the conversion report hammer again. But understanding who is successful, who is having conversion success ultimately, even if it's just getting applications, even if it's just having good conversations, getting that internal lifeblood from the people who are ultimately turning these into funded deals. And hey, maybe you have a smaller team. Maybe you have a retention division. Maybe there's, one specific area that's working with Sales Boomerang, but make sure we're opening up the lines of communication, pick up the telephone, so to speak, and make sure that we're hitting, if John Doe's getting a lot of applications, but not a lot of them are funding, or if, Jane Doe's funding deals really quickly, why is that? Examining success, seeing their process. That way we can develop trends, we can develop best practices internally. And from there, able to bring that back to your CSM, able to workshop together and make sure that the people who are actually, hitting the phones, completing these tasks, actionably taking away these alerts and hitting the phones are the ones who are going to give you the most feedback. And sometimes it can be tough to draw it out of an LO. And hey, maybe there are certain ones that aren't utilizing it very much, or they might not understand it, which is something that we're going to get into next, which is considering a refresher training to make sure that we bring these back to the forefront of their mind. But LO feedback is so crucial. They are the lifeblood, guys. They are the ones who are, going door to door virtually and making sure that we can hit the phones with confidence, making sure that we have good talk tracks, good home bases for times where you might not feel super comfortable, and figuring out what it is that makes an LO successful within these alerts internally with our team, with our style, with our products, and getting that out, opening up that, world of possibilities, so to speak. So LO feedback is so crucial, and using the conversion reports, guys, you can see which LOs are closing which alerts, are getting funded deals from which alerts, and how long it took them, and all those things. So those two pair together to really start to strengthen your foundation with Sales Boomerang.
Yeah. Awesome. Very well said. And I just want to pause for a second. I see Russell had made a comment in here, helping me to sell the system to the senior management. Yes, that's what we're here for. So not only is a report going to help you sell it, but let us know. We can actually walk you through how to present it, right? And to kind of highlight and also look at the challenges, but what we're doing to fix that. And then also some of the strengths, right? So thank you, Russell. Want to make sure we're here. I want to let you know that we're here for you. And I see that you've also said you've recently redone all the records, so we're in a solid position. So this reinforces using Sales Boomerang for you. Awesome, fantastic. Sarah says, how would we go about setting up a meeting for a reset? Perfect. Sarah, so I'm not sure who your CSM is, but you would want to reach out to that person. Okay, send your CSM a note, or send me a
quick email. Send your CSM a quick email and say, hey, just finished SBU with Pablo and Spencer. I'm really fired up. Wanted to get together and see how we can go through doing a refresher, a reset, right, and go through this 10-point checklist together with your CSM. Get on the same page. Our CSMs are great guys. They're going to be able to put you in a great spot. Pablo and I both are available resources for them. So really, putting all of the brains in the trust to hitting that reset. So just get in touch with your CSM, establish a monthly or quarterly meeting with your CSM, and go over these conversion reports. That is the basic recipe for success, guys. Be in touch with your CSM once a month, once every other month, do these conversion reports, get feedback, and set goals, and you'll be right as rain.
And by the way, how would you find out who your CSM is? Sarah, hey, Spencer, could you make sure you send your email to Sarah and make sure that
absolutely
you connect with her? Thank you, Sarah.
I'm going to drop it in the chat.
Okay, so number 9, and by the way, considering a refresher training, I know we've done a lot of refresher trainings with a lot of you. If you haven't already done one, right, it's basically sometimes your team just needs a refresh. Sorry, number 8, sometimes your team just needs a refresh, right? So everything that Spencer just talked about, that we've been talking about, one of the simplest answers is let's get everyone back on the floor, on the sales floor, and let's do a training, right? Let's remind them of what Sales Boomerang is, right? Because all of us are excited about it. We know how it works. We know that it works. But sometimes we just forgot, how do we drive this thing, right? And so a refresher is a good thing, not just for the loan officers, but also for everyone that's involved. So we'll talk about that. But at the same time, it's important for us to connect on a strategy call, kind of like Sarah's asking about here, is we want to talk to you before we just jump on and do a refresher for your team, right? It's not a one size fits all for everybody, right? So we want to know about your team. We want to take a look at the conversion report. We want to maybe highlight, Spencer, we talk about this all the time, right? We want to highlight some of the people that are kicking butt with Sales Boomerang, right? Why not spotlight, highlight those folks, ask them what they're doing well, what's working for them, maybe some of the things that are not working for them. And then other LOs in the organization can say, oh, that's it. That's all they're doing. I can do that. Right. And so sometimes we need that dialogue, and that happens within a refresher training. Okay. Next one is this monthly budget, right? And ROI. So the reason I put monthly budget and ROI together is because really one should help affect the other one, right? So if you have a monthly budget, for example, maybe somebody came to you and said, hey, this is how much I want you to spend every single month in marketing. And from that, you're like, all right, well, I got to use some for Sales Boomerang. And all of a sudden you're trying to figure out what makes sense and where you're at currently. You don't know what you don't know. So again, we need to sit down and have a conversation. And the best way to figure out how to make a move is to see what your ROI is, see what kind of return you are getting on your investment before you decide to either A, continue to invest, right? Invest more or invest less. And I'll tell you this is why I love Sales Boomerang. I can't believe this. So when I was in business, I used to spend, I can't remember, upwards of $20,000 on Lending Tree alone. Okay, I had a small branch. It was like 20 loan officers or something like that. They weren't all necessarily Lending Tree LOs. And the only thing that I had to know as far as any conversions were just how much business, based on how many leads I purchased, how many I converted. I didn't have any other access. I didn't have any other information that led me to understand or led me to believe that it would make sense to double down on that, especially if the markets were in some kind of a pivot or in a change. I only was able to base it on what I did last month or what I did last year. And this is actually going to tell you down to the granular level, which loan officers, how much production, how much volume, how many units, how many funded deals. And for those of you that are even considering, right, because I've had people come to me, for those of you that are considering, hey, what if I just took my top Sales Boomerang performers and created a retention team, right? Like these people seem to are okay and are really strong at having these very check-in and value-added conversations with these borrowers. And that's why they're just blowing out of the water. Why not just create a team from them? And then why not make one of those leaders into a trainer of all of those loan officers, right? And so there's people doing that. And I want you to consider that. But until you understand why, where your numbers are and why they're there, you will never know what next step to take, okay? And so we're here to help you with that. And so lastly, Spencer, go ahead. What's up, buddy?
Absolutely. To add on to the last one, guys, I just want to say that, and Pablo mentioned that pivot right now. It's a purchase market. Refis are down throughout the pandemic. The silver lining for the mortgage industry was fish in a barrel with rates, guys. Sales Boomerang is here for you. It was easy. Any LO, not any LO, but some LOs could have kind of just had a lot of business fall into their lap. Sales Boomerang is here for right now when the rates are back up, and we can go back through your database and find alternative positive opportunities for borrowers using our data and using that borrower intelligence system. So right now is a beautiful opportunity. I know earlier that Russell had mentioned showing how the system adds value. The values right now, guys, when the market is a little slower than it was. So that is what Sales Boomerang is for ultimately. And then number 10, moving on, guys, scheduling time with your CSM. And please drop in the chat if you know who your CSM is, your customer success manager, or your account rep, so to speak. Give me a yes. If you don't, give me a no, just really quickly in the chat while I talk about this one. But your CSM is going to be the person who gets you in touch with all of the right resources, who knows how to refine your data. Christy is awesome. Absolutely, Russell. Gets your data in a good place, gets you with best practices. Make sure that you're getting the perfect cocktail of what it takes to be successful here. And Pablo mentions a great point. Your CSM is the one that can help you navigate through the logistics of turning your team into a retention division, or just doing a quick 180 or changing a different perspective in order to most successfully utilize Sales Boomerang. And again, guys, you should be having a monthly or every other month meeting with your CSM to check on your goals, your short-term goals, your quarterly goals, and your annual goals. The short-term goal could be, hey, we want to improve our integration or set our integration up. Your quarterly goal could be, hey, we want to try to have a better ROI, fund more deals this quarter than we did last quarter. And your annual goal could be, hey, we want to take our conversion rate from 5% to 12%. So scheduling time with your CSM, going over it really quickly, making sure that they're in line with your goals and can understand how to give you the right recipe. They're also going to be the bridge, so to speak, to our product team, to our support team, to Pablo and I, to, all of our leadership, all of that. They're going to be the ones who know who you need and what you need in order to put you in the best scenario possible. So if you don't have one set up currently, please, I implore you, go out, try and schedule a monthly or quarterly meeting if you haven't already, and get with your CSM today, tomorrow, this week at the latest. Make sure you can open up the line of communication. It's winter, the spring market's about to come through. It's a good time to take inventory, guys, and ultimately get into it with your CSM. Let them know where you stand and what your goals are moving forward.
Spring cleaning, we're here to help you do that. Okay. So make sure you guys go through your checklist. If you need, take a screenshot, right? Take a screenshot, go through your checklist on your own, and then go through it with us. Okay. And by the way, give yourself permission. Number 2, give yourself permission to not do this alone. Have help. We are here to help you. Okay. There's a lot of companies where it's like, hey, we just get you in and then you never hear from us again. Okay. No one likes that feeling. No one likes that from the loan officer and the real estate agent. And I sure know you don't like it from your tech and your marketing partners. We're here for you. Okay. So please connect with us. Number 3, set a strategy reset call with us. And literally just tell us what's on your mind, what's going on. And again, let's go right through those 10 steps. Okay. But guys, that's what we got for you for today. We really appreciate you all jumping on. Thank you so much. And by the way, Spencer and I, we're the ones that, when you decide, hey, you know what, Pablo, you mentioned something about a retention team, and I'd been thinking about, does it make sense? We're the ones that are going to be doing those trainings, and we're the ones that are going to be talking about that with your team, right? So, or when you're saying, hey, we need to figure out how to approach our real estate agents and utilize Sales Boomerang as a tool to build more value with them. Guess what? That's exactly what Spencer and I can help you do. But before we do any of that, let's take a look under the hood. Let's go through the checklist. You're going to work on that with your CSM, and I promise you that's what's going to help us help you reach your goals. And then that way you can walk into those meetings, those forecast meetings, whether you do them quarterly with your company or not, with confidence. And just know, hey, you know what? There were some things going on. We made some adjustments. We've changed some settings. We've looked at different alerts, and we've looked at some opportunities. Here's what we're doing. And you can walk in with confidence, guys. I know that's what's going to give you the winning edge. And even sometimes you might hear and might have to do some things that you're like, man, I didn't think I was going to have to do that, or I didn't realize I was going to have to take a step back in order to take 2 steps forward. We're going to help you figure that out. Okay. So we're here with you. Spencer, man, you got any closing words?
Again, guys, get with your CSM, set goals, short-term and long-term, get that conversion report in, and just get excited. Get that internal conversation fired up with your LOs. That's the recipe. That's the recipe. Check with your CSM, get the conversion reports in, get feedback from your LOs, and we'll get them fired up. And that's what it takes to elevate that foundation that you have with your Sales Boomerang presence at your company, and ultimately get you in a great place and increase your bottom line, increase your ROI, and add funded deals to your pipeline. It sounds simple, but that's the secret recipe, guys. It's that easy. So we really appreciate your time. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited. Thank you, Pablo, for having me. I'm fired up to be able to help you guys grow. And like I said, we know it's a purchase-based market right now. The market slowed down a little bit. That's what Sales Boomerang is for, to find those opportunities that aren't just falling in your lap. So thank you so much.
No, thank you, guys. And by the way, I'm gonna stick around for another minute or so if anyone's got any questions. I appreciate everyone joining. You're more than welcome to join, to jump off. And if you want a recording of this, we'll send it to you as well, for those attendees and those that registered. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care.